Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another video of mine. And this one, gonna be talking about Tiernan Lynch's appointment at Derry City, what he's done at Larne, what he's achieved, what it could mean for Derry City, and just give my general thoughts and opinions. Tiernan Lynch, obviously, has been appointed as manager of Derry City a couple of months ago. I've given a lot of time to have a look at it and have my own thoughts and opinions, etc., on it, and wait till now, basically, to conduct a video based on that. Tiernan Lynch was at Larne for 7.5 years, which is a long time for any manager these days, especially in the Irish League or the League of Ireland. And he done a superb job on and off the pitch at Larne, actually. And he really invested into the Larne project. Now, Larne were heavily backed. We all know that, etc. But you still have to go out and put in the right structures and perform and do your job as a manager on the pitch also. And his time at Larne was extremely successful. And you come up against obviously old clubs, big clubs like Linfield, and you still have to dethrone them. He took over at Larne in 2017. Larne were in the Championship, which is the second division in the Irish League, in case people were unaware of that, because I'm aware that League of Ireland people are obviously going to be watching this outside of Derry City as well. Second year, he got promotion, so that was the first phase of the job done, you could say. Unbeaten in 22 games during that season too. He got them into the Europa Conference League, and he done a good job there in his first stint of action, if you like, in Europe. And Bala Town, Aarhus, he did a good job there, didn't he? To be fair, his style as well was quite attacking. Is quite attacking. Likes to build up from the back if possible. I know a lot of managers do that these days, but there's a difference between certain ways of building up from the back. I think Rory Higgins had that approach to a degree, but it was pedestrian and slow. He likes to build it up quicker and get through the thirds quickly. And attack if possible, quickly. And that's been the key thing that Derry been missing from my point of view. They have a good squad of players. I'm not going to really talk about that too much in this video, the squad of players, etc. But that's what they were missing when I watched Derry City play last year. How quickly he can implement his plans, we don't really know. It's hard to tell. And he's coming into a different league. It is a different league. There's more challenges, better teams to compete with, I would say, etc., etc. But going back to the job at Larne, overall in the 7.5 years, superb job, winning the title back to back, which isn't easy in any league for me. Being the manager that and being part of that club that got through to the Conference League group stage for the first time ever for an Irish League team is something that can't be sneezed at. I know they've struggled this year. They're bottom of their league. I think they're bottom of the league. They won their last match, actually. So maybe they're not quite bottom now of the Conference League. But to get them there was a fantastic, unbelievable job to actually get them into the Conference League. Whereas they probably formed a good team in Irish League standards, I still think the quality of player isn't as good as certainly the top 4 or 5 in the League of Ireland. So to do that job, in my opinion, was still outstanding to get them into the Conference League. Unbelievable job he did there. And as I said, generally tried to play attacking football, quick football. So yeah, you have to give him serious credit for the job he done at Larne. And in that 7.5 years, not just on the pitch, in the competitions he won, etc., etc. And what he did in Europe, it's what he did off the pitch as well. And he had a massive influence in structures behind the scenes at Larne too. And I think that's something that Derry City have taken into serious consideration and looked at. And from my opinion, Derry City had to go for someone outside the league. I think I've said that on numerous occasions. There's a lot of good managers and coaches in the league. I've never seen it better in that regard. There was probably no one in the league they could get that would kind of be the level of some of the other managers. Tiernan Lynch, is he the level of some of those managers? Time will tell. And he's talked about this being a long project at Derry City. And I think he's talked about more facilities behind the scenes, etc., and training grounds and all that kind of stuff that Derry City badly need, really. And he's good experience of that at Larne. He had 7.5 years, remember, at Larne. He wasn't at Larne for 2 years. putting structures and plans in place. So he'll have a good idea what he thinks and what he knows needs to happen at Derry City coming into the club initially. And he knows it'll take time. He's willing to give it time. And I think Derry City, the club, are probably willing to give him time, unless something disastrous happens, you know what I mean, in the next couple of years in terms of results in the league. Obviously, no manager's exempt from that. But it's an interesting appointment for Derry City. One I'm excited about. It'll be very interesting what way it goes. Now, he had signed an initial 3-year deal at Derry City, and I think that's a huge support from the club, to be honest, as well. Another manager attribute that he seems to have this. A lot of people have said this, and in fact, I've definitely seen a player say this that was in the Larne dressing room as well, that he's a manager that lets the players sort out an awful lot, and isn't afraid to be challenged. So just say they lose a match, for example, it's a bad performance, whatever. He let the players speak. He let the players challenge him, whether he agrees or disagrees or not. He will let the players challenge him, and it becomes an open conversation. And I think that's interesting, potentially a good thing, because some managers can even listen to players, but they're not listening to players. You know, they're going, yeah, okay, but no, not really. That's not how it's happening. But he's willing to listen in a real way. And I do think that could help a dressing room, particularly the Derry City dressing room, in my view, to be honest. That's something to look at. He has said in recent interviews, etc., that he can't promise anything, particularly going into this season. He hasn't targeted a position in the league. He hasn't even said, you know, we need to qualify for Europe, etc., etc., which is interesting. Some people might look at that and say, you know, he's lacking ambition in a sense, or he's, you know, fearful of putting something out there in case they don't do as well as what he said. But at the same time, I think he just understands the strength of the league coming into the season. He understands that you've got, say, a Shelbourne, who are a very settled side with a good manager. Pats under Kenny, etc., still have Rovers with Bradley and all those kind of teams. He understands that the League of Ireland's strength overall is far stronger than the Irish League. I'm sure he has ambitions in his own mind. And at the same time, though, he has said that the sky's the limit for Derry City. I think he's just talking more in terms of the short term. He's not really sure. And to be honest with you, I can get that because, you know, it's very difficult. Derry still have signs to make, I believe, but it's very difficult to place Derry City in the league table at this minute in time, I think. I still think they should be finishing somewhere probably in the top 4. Where, it's hard to tell, because we don't know how this manager is going to, you know, impact it on the short-term level. So we're not really too sure about that. That's something that's going to be really intriguing and interesting. It's great also, from my point of view, to see another manager come into the league. And as I said, I think the strength of the coaches and management in the league is stronger than ever was. And therefore, you're seeing a league, if you look at last year in particular, that is more condensed from top to bottom. A lot of people argue the league has gone downhill. It actually hasn't. If you look at results in Europe, generally, Derry City probably been an exception to that. And that leads me on to my other point, how well he's done in Europe. Now, Derry City fans will tell you, apart from maybe 1 year recently, that generally they've underperformed in Europe compared to maybe some of the other League of Ireland clubs. This man, Tiernan, has done very well in Europe. First spell in that Europa Conference League that I talked about, where he had good results, but also the last time where he got them through to the Conference League. So that would have been something that Derry City would have looked at. And so he's good experience of European competition. And I would suggest that Derry City have better players, even as we speak, than Larne. So it'll be interesting to see how that experience works. Of course, no Europe next season, but that, I'm pretty sure even if they didn't get into it next season, they'd be in it fairly soon anyway. So interesting times ahead for Derry City. Really looking forward to how he develops not just the team, but the club, like he did at Larne. He's not here for the short term, as Larne proved. 7.5 years at Larne. I would say that this is a more intriguing project in many ways for him at Derry City, a more challenging project in terms of what's around them in the league. So that's something that he'll be really excited about, and it'll just be very interesting to see what kind of impact and what kind of changes are made on the pitch short term for me. Really looking forward to it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're a Derry City fan, what do you think of the appointment? Are you excited? And do you think it had to happen, that you had to get a manager outside the league, that Rory had to go, etc.? Subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.